Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Exodus here. This is gameplay from the new Fortnite BR that released recently. It's in the solo menu. I'm going to talk today about a different game, however, but that's centralized around this game, essentially, in a way from the community that gravitated towards it due to the kind of outbreak of negativity that happened within the other game. And that game is Destiny 2. The game had all sorts of hype going into it, which I played many hours of Destiny 1, loved Destiny 1, had quality memories with Destiny 1. Um, played with friends, family, had some pretty crazy stuff happen throughout the life cycle of that game and enjoyed the aspects that it brought to the table. Granted, there was a lot of, aspects I didn't like because of the developers and what they falsely promised or didn't deliver, and I took a complete year off essentially and came back to it later on once they brought back the old raids and implemented the new progression system and kind of was bringing the game to a close. Unfortunately, I didn't even get close to hyped for Destiny 2, which is, it's good and bad. One, it's good because I'm not pouring in a bunch of time into that game, when I can be devoting it elsewhere. And two, it's bad because, again, there's a lot of friends that still play that went back to it that I don't get to, really play any games with anymore. Just because, like I said, I'm not on there playing. But that goes in point to what I want to initially talk about today in this video is that a lot of people that did buy into Destiny 2 go into Destiny 2 not even 3 weeks after its release started leaving the game and really bashing it and hating on it because of the lack of delivery that it provided in the end game and just a lot of repetition and stuff that it took out from the first game. They said, oh, we're going to add a bunch of stuff, and granted that they did, they also, stripped away quite a bit to make it, the content drought come 10 times sooner than I ever did in the first Destiny game. First Destiny game had a mass departure of players, but that was because of the raid blockage and how rare some of your gear was, so it was hard to level up, and people didn't like that, so they just left. Whereas this game, it's you get everything too quick, and then there's just nothing else to do. There's no, weapons to chase for because there's no more random rolls. There's no more zest to the PvP because Trials and Iron Banner are pretty much worthless from what I'm hearing. This is all conjecture from what I'm hearing from big YouTubers, big time Destiny enthusiasts, people making, pretty much making their living off of trying to cover this game and play the game to provide content to people like you who are watching this video. And, when you hear from the developers that there's going to be no issue with content droughts anymore leading up to the game's release, that they corrected their mishaps from the past game. And then, not even 3 weeks into the game's release, we have the issues that we have of, the population dropping by, just this huge significant margin going from over going 3 point something million people down to like 800,000 in the span of a month and a half's time. Now, granted, there's going to be a big influx of population now because of the PC release that just happened today. I'm recording this on October 24th. But, how long will that last? Like, PC community is a lot more ruthless than console community. And if the console community, the people that were loyal to Destiny since, the original Destiny came out, are having, issues with this release and the activities at hand, it's going to be rough on Bungie coming up with the PC community running in that same issue. Now, granted, they're going to have less gap between the release date and like new content since the new DLC is going to be coming out in December. So they'll realistically only have to wait like a month and a half if it's early December or 2 months if it's late December. But, the console community, it's pretty much migrating over to PC since there's nothing else to do on the console versions. They got everything. The Prestige raid came out recently, like a week ago, and I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding that because it was almost worthless. There was no new items, no new weapons, no power level increase, nothing like that. So all of them were going to PC if they have a PC because there's just it looks different, it's new feel with how the game plays and performs, with a new different system, and they're able to start from scratch again, and they have a lot more to do, a lot more to accomplish and get, whereas console, once they get stuff, it's pretty much done with. And I think that's sad in a lot of ways because, one, I saw that coming. I didn't anticipate Destiny 2 being anything near what Destiny 1 was, in the sense of, having a big, vibrant community and always, having something to do, and in essence of progression. Because in Destiny 1, one of the things I don't see talked about a lot in these videos covering the downfall of the game, essentially, is that in Destiny 1, not only did you have the, branching out of the subclasses, which has been touched on, being a lack of options in Destiny 2, it's pretty much set up for you already. You don't have any choice, and it's just everyone's the same. In Destiny 1, you had to level up all the gear you got, all the weapons you got to unlock the perks and aspects of the guns and gear to make you stronger. And the stats, actually meant something. And you had to progress the gear through XP gains and doing activities in order to have a significant impact on your character moving forward. And Destiny 2 doesn't have that. Once you get that item outside of mods, you're pretty much done. You don't have to do anything to upgrade it, and you don't even have to put mods on it, essentially. But so that's one thing that takes away. You don't have to grind the materials for it. Go out and try to find them, whether it's farming them by picking them up or farming them by doing activities. It's just everything's max performance right away. So that takes away some of the longevity of the game. And then, what's the real reason if there's no to do strikes, if there's no, strike specific loot to chase after, and no other like substantial gain your character. So it's just a big stalemate right now. They, made it for the casual audience, which is fine. But again, like, as you can see, where does that get you? Like, it gets you from 3.2 million people a day or whatever down to 800,000, in less than a month. Whereas if you tailor to the hardcore crowd, the people that have been with you since the beginning, you'd have those same high numbers for months and months to come. So that's just the big issue, is they're trying to tailor to the casual people to bring more money in, yet those casual players are going to up and leave, and the hardcore players are going to do the same too. So your loss is a lot greater than your gain with how they are currently approaching their fundamental just vision for the game. So I don't know. I don't have any opinions to try to fix it because, again, I'm not invested in the game. I could really care less. If it does well, I hope it does continue to tank. I know with the PC release, and right now it's not going to. There's going to be so much excitement and stuff surrounding it. Right now, they haven't really issued any statements or, released any information that's really going to bring people back or keep people interested. I mean, they talked about seasons recently and all that, but that's not going to attract anybody new. Not going to attract anybody to, come back that has left, in my opinion, because, again, it's not an increase to your character's power, and the gear, again, isn't really affecting your character, since from what I've seen and heard from all the people I still keep in touch with that do play the game and do pour hours into the game still, it doesn't, the stats don't really mean anything, don't influence the way your character behaves within the world surrounding them. So I don't know. I hope, like I said, it continues to tank so that Bungie wakes up or Activision wakes up, who's ever pulling the true strings. One thing that I did hear recently that I haven't heard talked about much again is how they're pulling the main developers out of the game already, and they're just, passing the torch to the live team. Well, if you look at the past, again, my whole point of not getting Destiny 2 was if you matched up audio logs and interviews from prior to Destiny 1 to what you heard from them prior to Destiny 2 was like the exact same thing. And you saw how bad Destiny 1 was for a while and how bad it was on release, initially, but people kept playing it because, again, they thought, it might get better. They could, they could trust on Bungie to, or not trust them. It was like a false trust. They had no other choice but to try to trust them to fix it and bring, you know, stuff in the game, because they already sunk so much time in, so much money in and effort in to building their characters and, you know, building their community, whether they're streamers or content creators, whatever. And they were so hyped for it, and there was still, like I said, plenty to do. However, they just it just was like a fabrication of, you know, progression, essentially. Like, yeah, you were leveling up gear and all that stuff, but at the same time, the activities you were doing to level up that gear, to find these materials, to do all that, to progress that stuff, was the same things over and over and over and over. So I don't know. It's terrible that you know, they're in that cycle again of just, you know, people having to lean back and rely on them, and they ran out of their they just ran out of leash. The company ran out of leash. The people are wised up to it now after the release. Sadly, they didn't you know, take notice prior to the release, and a lot of people poured a lot of money into it that are regretting doing so. And like me, like I told all the people who were saying, oh, aren't you getting it, or are you gonna get it? It's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get it ever, and if I do, it's not gonna be till a couple years down the road when, you know, they release a full-fledged, you know, updates and changes and a plethora more content, and then, you know, bundle it up again like they did Destiny 1, essentially, for, you know, the same price as release day. Because in Destiny 1, one of my big pet peeves was the fact that, you know, I started day one and I paid a crap ton of money compared to people who came around a couple years later that got a more polished game. And not only did they get a more polished game for a lot cheaper, they also got these, you know, rewards essentially for being a new player, being a newcomer. Whereas all the people that were loyal for those years and playing all that time, we didn't get rewarded with anything because we already had what, you know, they were trying to offer those people to entice them to join the game or get the game. And so it's just, again, I was like, well, okay, well, I see how they value their loyal hardcore players, which is, you know, slim to none. So why would I jump in right away and support them when they screwed me so many times in the past? And a lot of people didn't heed that warning, learn from the past. And the sad thing is, I see this, you know, with the PC release, all these people who are upset with the game and mad at the developers and so on and so forth from the console version. They get this new PC version, and all of a sudden they're getting all googly-eyed and, you know, spreading this hype that isn't warranted, again, just because of a glossing over a visual performance being much better on PC than console, when, you know, within a week and a half, 2-3 weeks, again, they're going to be in the same boat they were, you know, recently before PC came out. So I don't know. It's this big craziness that's happening within that game. And the reason why I tied it into gameplay to this game is because a lot of people came over to Fortnite for a while to remedy the lack of content and fun that they were having in Destiny 2. And a lot of them migrated over to Fortnite, which has been a pleasant surprise and just an absolute gem in my opinion. Which hopefully that, you know, Fortnite doesn't get screwed up with all the feedback and updates that are going to come forth, you know, with the increased population. But it's been fun so far, and it's continued to be fun. So I don't know, like I said, if people go back to that game, Destiny 2, and they don't like it, you know, with the PC release eventually, or, you know, Bungie doesn't step up their game and remedy the issues on console as well to provide more content and bring people back, then, you know, there is games like this that are coming out and that will continue to come out, like PUBG's coming to console, and, you know, Black Desert's coming to console, stuff like that. So I don't know, they gotta get on their game if they plan to keep people around. Thanks for watching.